Hello, my name is Sisanda and you are watching Open Studio right here on Cape Town TV. We have another awesome interview today and another awesome episode. And today I'm being visited by Naeema Jacobs from the Vision and Child Youth Care Center. Welcome, Naeema. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
No, thank you for coming. I mean, you're doing a lot of work around helping, abandoned and vulnerable young, youth. So, can you tell us about, the Vision and Child Youth Care Center? What is this vision? What is the mission, and how did it start?
So, Vision Child and Youth Care Center was started in 1991. So, I think that makes us about 29 years old. So, it was started with because we saw a need for children who were experiencing difficulty even within their own families, and children that were being abandoned and neglected, and especially those that were being abused physically and sexually. And then our founder decided that to open up a space, a safe space, where they can stay and we can, provide them with the basic necessities and education, and then also help them with the healing process so that they can re-enter into society as positive members of society. So that was the main thing that we focused on.
All right. So, you've been around for quite some time, 29 years. And I mean, it's a good thing that, there is a need for, such institution for vulnerable youth. But at the same time, it's also a bit, concerning that there is, because I'm just wondering, has the need increased over the years? And then again, on the other end, it's like, wow, why is it increasing? Is it because young people and youth and children are becoming more and more vulnerable? How would you comment? What would you say on that?
I would say, initially, the we didn't realize the greater need for a center like ours or a home like ours. But obviously, as the years has gone by, we've realized that the need has become much greater. But also, one needs to understand that drugs has become now on the increase. Alcohol has become on the increase. Unemployment has become on the increase. So, with all these social factors also taking into consideration, it is inevitable that children will then suffer. And that is why you find that the need now is greater than ever, and especially with drugs being so prevalent. Um, it's sad, but it is reality that there are more centers needed as like centers like ours. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know it is really, really sad, and it only highlights the importance of such a center. Why the name Vision, and Child Youth Care Center?
I think because our founder had a vision. It's very simple. So he had this idea, and that was his vision, and that is why we decided to call it Vision Child and Youth Care Center. So that at the same time, the children who come into our center, we can help them create a vision, a positive vision for themselves, for the future. Because you find that a lot of the times when children come from difficult backgrounds, they feel that that is the end for them. They're not going to prosper, they have no support. But what we're trying to do is that when they come in, we show them that there is possibilities, endless possibilities. If you just put your mind to it and you open your heart to help, allow us to help you with the healing process, that things can be possible. And if you have the right vision in place, you know, doors will open for you. So that is,
Okay. So, I mean, you have mentioned briefly, where these children are coming from, but I would like you to tell us more, just give us a more detailed background of exactly what kind of environments, what challenges are these, young people facing.
I can use our children as examples. So we have, for example, a child that has come from where a parent was abusing drugs and left the child at the the drug merchant's place. So those are the type of neglect that we're talking about. I've got another children, for example, who were abused physically, and so then they had to be removed and come into our care. We have children whose parents literally don't give a second thought about them and just leave them for days, weeks alone to fend for themselves. So those are the type of backgrounds that they come from, where they don't experience or they don't know what it's like to have a positive role model or a positive adult who's looking out for their best interest. So it's quite sad again. But I think once they put their foot over our threshold, we take a pledge, we make a pledge with them that we will do our very best to be the adults that they need so that they can then do better and heal and learn that, the world isn't a cruel place, that there is adults out there who does love them and who will care for them and who will provide them with everything that they need to the best of our ability. So yeah, it's quite vast, and especially with all the chaos and all the crime that's going on. I mean, the stories I'm talking about is only a few. I mean, if each one has their own story to tell. Each child has their own story to tell. We all have our own story to tell. And I think it's important that they feel that when they're coming to our place, that they are safe and that it is a place where they can learn to love and learn to be loved in the correct way. So that is important.
So, I mean, you're dealing with the young children who are coming, from, have
Various,
got tragic,
yes.
coming from really, really tragic.
So our youngest at the moment is 8 months. So she's been with us since she was 5 months. So she's our youngest. She's very adorable. And then our eldest at the moment is 18, of which there's about two of them that's doing the matric. And then I think the other two is in grade 11. So, and we also have about 25 children at present. Um, it's not easy because each one comes with their own background, with their own character. So, I mean, also if you have siblings, each one is not the same. So we need to learn to balance and to differentiate between who needs a hug now, who can we, just call in and just have a quick sit down with, because obviously each one's needs is different, also depending on their age. Because we have about 5 creche ones that go to creche, so they between the 8 month, and then we also up until 5. That's our younger ones.
All right. So that is there's no age. A
No.
child can come at 1 day
Yes.
old, and but what is the maximum that you?
So the maximum age is 18. However, what we've done is that should they decide, because we've taken it from ourselves, like at 18 sometimes we still don't have direction. So what we've done is we've decided that should they wish to continue to stay after 18, because then they're going to stay at their own free will, and then also then they need to, on condition that they're going to study. And then we will then source funding for their studying, and they will remain by our center, which is practically like a home, but on a larger scale. And then once they studied and once they've completed their studies and they go and work and they feel that they are now independent, and then we let them out of the bird's nest, you can say.
I just want to go back a little bit, to when the child first comes into the center. Is there some sort of, orientation, to
Okay,
get the
so
child?
so what happens is that before the child comes into our center, there is an external social worker that gets involved, and then they will then do an investigation and compile a background report. And then once that is done, they will go to the court. And then before the child comes to us, the court will issue us with a court order along with the background report. But then also at the same time to make sure that our facility would be the right facility for that child. Because like I said earlier on, each child's needs is different. So we have programs, and most facilities have programs. So they need to make sure that the programs we have is aligned to the child's needs. So once that's done, and it's a match, and our programs suit the child's needs, and then when the child comes in, so we have a orientation program, which is exactly what it's called. So it's a little bit more structured, because what we do is we also want to make sure that the child comes to us before they're going to stay there, so that they can get a feel of our center. They can go around and see where they're going to sleep. They can go around and see the staff, and if they feel that they are comfortable with that and they agree, and then they will then live with us, and then we take it from there.
Thank you so much, Naeema. We do have to go to a quick ad break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back shortly. And we're back on your favorite community show, Open Studio, right here on Cape Town TV. I'm talking to my guest, Naeema, and you are from the Vision and Child Youth Care Center. So, I mean, I was asking you, what is the whole process when you bring in a child, a vulnerable child, into a safe space like your haven, and you explain to me. But now I also want to know: do the children just come in and do as they are, or is it structures? Are there rules? And some of these children are coming from backgrounds where there's no rules, there's nothing. And how you actually start honing that in, is that in itself also a process?
That is a process, and I must say so. At the moment, we are busy restructuring because we've realized that we need to focus more on the positive things. So instead of saying no fighting, we will now say you have to be kind. Instead of saying no swearing, we will say like you need to be thoughtful. So we're going to do positive reinforcement. So that's the kind of things we feel we need to do. And then also, like, there's rules in every household. So we have rules, and we have it's very basic rules, because why, we also need to understand that they come from no structure. So you can't just bombard them with the rules and stuff. So you need to slowly integrate it into them. But what makes it easier for us is the fact that because we have so a wide range of ages. So what happens is, so say for example, you come and you are 5. So we have another 5-year-old. So then you would then relate to that 5-year-old, and that would be like your buddy. And then you'll see that this child, the new child that has come in, kind of follows the next one. So it makes it easier for us to explain certain things. And sometimes we don't even have to explain, because then your buddy, even if it's 5 years old, will be like, um, we can't do that. We need to play on this side. This toys is the bigger, so it makes things a little easier. And like I said, we are fortunate because we have the wide range of ages, which makes the transition for the child much more easier. Because then, it's not just a child trying to relate to an adult. There is another child there that in that particular age group, so it makes it easier for them, and I think they feel more comfortable. And so we try to kind of also make them feel more at home and at ease. It's not always the same for every child, because you need to understand that no child wants to be separated from their parents. And it's also a thing of whereby sometimes we find that the children will blame us because they've been removed from their parents. And we understand that each and every child loves their parent unconditionally, irrespective to whether the parent is negatively impacting their life. They don't see it like that, because that is all they know. So, like I said, it helps us so much more when there's another child that particular age group, and then they can easily transition into the center.
Cases where you are dealing with a minor who's been exposed to drugs within the family, how do you, because they've been exposed, they're obviously at risk, how do you limit the risk, and how do you prevent them going the same route as?
So, fortunately, we have various programs at our center, and we also have a drug program. So obviously, like I said, each child that comes in is already profiled. So we know already by the time the child walks in what kind of program we're going to need to put in place for that child. And fortunately, because drugs are so prevalent, so we have a drug program, especially for our older ones, because like you said, we don't want them to follow suit of their parents or of the previous adults that was in their life. So we have various programs to suit that. And then also our programs such as the drug program or even say sexual abuse program, we get outside people, external agencies to come and run the programs for us. So then it's not a thing. So they kind of get exposed to different types of people, um, and also specialized skills, because we want to afford them the best possible specialized programs that we can. And obviously drugs is a specialized program, sexual abuse is a specialized program. So the more we can invest in that, then it will be better for them, the outcome will be better.
What if the child is already
On
on
drugs.
drugs and things?
So here's the thing, like I said before, each center has programs set. So the courts and the external agency already knows what programs we have. So fortunately or unfortunately, if the child is already on drugs, then we would not then be the best place for them. However, we've had about 2 or 3 cases whereby a child has come from a rehab center, then they've come to us. So what we've then done is we've then provided them with the safe haven, the normal family setup on a larger scale. But then what we've done is also then to ensure that they go like to the weekly meetings, so that type of thing we can do.
And now, if someone or maybe one of our viewers is suspecting maybe there's a child, that is experiencing physical or sexual abuse, what would you advise that they?
I would advise that the minute you suspect that, go to your police or even contact the external social work agencies, because each social work agency has a designated area. So find out who is the external agency for social work in your area, make contact with them, and then they will then do the necessary. So that what they will do is then they will go out, visit, do an investigation, like I said, write up a report, and if it is confirmed, then they will take the necessary steps then to ensure that the child is removed from that environment and placed into a safe area.
Is there anonymity in this whole process? Because sometimes it might be someone that you respect, but you're kind of
Mm.
suspecting. So, is this, sometimes people actually just don't want anyone to know that, but at the end of the day, the child has to be.
I think it's very important that we understand as adults that it is not about us, it is about the child. And everything we do is for the betterment of the child. And I always say, if it was your child or my child, would I walk on by knowing that there's somebody that could be interfering with my child? So, the saying, your child is my child. And that is the attitude that everybody needs to adopt. And like I said, make contact with the police, make contact with your external agencies, and do something, even just the first step, and let them do the rest. At least you know that what you're doing is the right thing. And again, it is only for the child, and it's not about you, it's about the child. So I would encourage people to make contact with the police or make contact with the external social work agency, find out who is designated to that area, and go there and tell them, Yeah.
All right. So now, in cases where you have, and I think a lot of the time people don't actually realize how vulnerable orphaned and abandoned children can be, and it's often not really spoken about. And it's for the child itself, it's a very, very lonely journey.
It
Would you
is.
like to kind of
Do you
highlight?
know, we found out recently, and we've discovered recently that, so say a child has been exposed to sexual abuse, and the child is 7, and the child maybe has a sibling of 3, 4. So what happens is, so now they will start to play that game with a younger one. So now you need to, like I said, you need to make sure then that you put the right measures in place, the right programs in place, because of the exposure that the children receive. It's detrimental to their mental health and the emotional well-being, because some children have been, the mind shift has been done by the adult in such a way where they don't even realize that something is wrong that is being done to them. And then it becomes up to the adults, such as ourselves, that need to now break that mindset and then make them realize that what was done to you by that adult was not right, you know, and that is in itself a challenge. And sometimes you find that a lot of our children, they blame themselves, or they take full responsibility for what happened. I mean, we have even as young as 9 years old that's taken full responsibility, and you need to break that mindset, because it is not your fault. It is the adult who needs to be held accountable. Um, so you see a lot of, so you find even our children going to depression, our children suffer from anxiety. Long past are those days whereby you feed a child, you put a roof over their head, and you send them to school, clothes on their back, and then they're happy. We are now at the stage in time whereby you need to make sure that you have specialized skills. That you need, if you want to prevent this from happening, or you want to prevent them from doing this to other children in their adulthood, you need to make sure that you have the right programs in place. And that is why we focus now, our main focus now is also on sexual abuse. So we even started with our sexual abuse programs from as little as 5, 4, 5. So yeah, it's very scary, but I think the main thing is, even during those tough times, we just always have to go back to our intention. and our vision and our mission statement. And we always just have to remind ourselves of why we're doing this. It's not about us, like I said, it is about the children, because you want them to have a better future. You want them to be positive role models to society. And I mean, there's no guarantee that what we're doing is going to have a 100% success rate. But at least, even if you can change one child, that in itself is success. And we have events where people will ask us, so what's your success stories? Who graduated? Or then I'm like, you know what? I have a 7-year old who was sexually assaulted. And when that child came into our center, the child wouldn't laugh or anything. The child was very withdrawn, very miserable. So I'm fortunate enough, so I work with my office to open. And then it's been, I think it was a couple of months after the child was admitted to our home. And then all of a sudden she started laughing. And then I called the staff and told them, that in itself, right there, that is a success. It is not about the monetary. It is about when a child comes to you or comes into your center and you can literally see they don't trust any adult. And I mean, for a 4-year-old not to trust an adult. So, and I mean, it's quite heartbreaking. But then afterwards, when you see, when they start to realize, because now you can't show them you can't speak to them with your words, you have to show them through your actions. And I say this because why? Let's say, for example, we have a family, siblings of, there's about 3 of them. So the older one is 9 and she took care of the 2-year-old and the 5-year-old. So now when they come into our center, she's still that mother figure. So she's going to put up a fight because she's been fending for them all the time. So we understand that. So that is why we're not going to shout at you and say, hey, no, you can't do that for him. So we need to show her that we are here now and we will take over. So you can relax and then you can be the child now and you can play. And sometimes it's difficult, but it's doable. And I think that in itself, for me, that is a achievement. When you see a child steps back and just be a child. When you see them start to play and not worry anymore about their siblings, worry every time come and check up, so that type of thing. So for me, like again, I said, success is different for everybody. But when we work with those children, that is the kind of success that we look for, not necessarily the monetary success. It's a bonus, but you want that, the kind of success where you can see is an emotional breakthrough, here is psychological, we're moving forward and there is progress. And I think that is all that's important for us.
Thank you so much, Naeema. I do think we need to go to an ad break. We'll be back shortly after these. Yes, you are watching Open Studio right here on Cape Town TV. I'm having a wonderful conversation with my guest, Naeema Jacobs, from the Vision Child and Youth Care Center. So you've said so much about, the important work that, this organization is doing, and, and how much more, there still needs to be, a lot more done. And, you can't do it all on your own. So, you do have people coming through, like in the form of volunteers coming to assist at the center. Can you please just give me a rundown of what exactly usually volunteers help out with?
So volunteers is a big role, plays a big role in our center. So volunteers would then normally come in and assist the kids with homework, assist the kids with reading, especially those that have missed that, that educational milestones. So they need a bit of extra support. Then we also have volunteers that would assist, kids on outings. And but it's very important. As much as we love volunteers, volunteers need to follow a process. So they will come in, do a briefing with us, and then they would also need police clearance, which is very important. And I think some people hesitate, like, why do you need police clearance? But the thing is, these are vulnerable children that we're working with, and we want to make sure that we place them with the best adults that we possibly can.
And as history tells us,
Yes.
Sometimes
The face doesn't say enough.
yes.
So it's very important. And then also volunteers just to actually engage with the children, because we're looking for volunteers who can even come and mentor the kids, because we have quite a bit of teenagers. So for those that need more direction as to what they want to become one day, so we need mentors in that way also. I always say that volunteers shouldn't, it's a gift, and that when you sit with the child, you interact with the child, it is a gift of your time and not necessarily your money, monetary, but it's a gift of yourself and a gift of your time, which is important. That is what the children need. So yeah, volunteers is very important. And also now with COVID that has happened, so our volunteer program had to come to a standstill. And obviously we see the effects of that. So we really hoping and praying that the program, the volunteer program will pick up and that, your viewers can contact us and find out how they can, what more can they do in order to become volunteers.
Just what do the children think of the volunteers? How valuable is that time with the volunteers to them?
I think, initially in the beginning, the children are a bit weary because why? Um, in their mind, it's like, oh, you're just going to be here today and then gone tomorrow. So that's why we're kind of looking for volunteers who's consistent. Because once you show consistency with the children, and then you'll see they start to open up and they start to be more at ease. And then they themselves feel like, this is not just a flyby thing. You're not just going to come today and then leave tomorrow and take a picture and then go. So that's why we encourage volunteers who do join the program to be consistent, because you need to understand that these children have had adults in and out of their life all the time, so they're used to that. So that's why we even strive with our staff to make sure that they're consistent so that they become familiar and they start building relationships, because that's what the children need, to build relationships, to learn, and to understand that, again, there is adults out there that you can trust, that, have your best interest at heart. And the volunteers play a big role with that.
So, if someone is interested in becoming a volunteer, how does one go about
So
reaching
you
out?
can call our office, um, and then you can make contact with our office, set up a briefing, because then obviously there's the rules and stuff that we need to discuss, and then also um, we need to just give you an overview on the type of children that we have. So like something simple, as a no cell phone, because yeah, you find that the children love cell phones and they love playing with the cell phones, and sometimes the cell phone go missing. So, but I mean that is kids. So we just trying to have this preventative method in place. And yeah, so then they'll do the briefing, and then also they need to make sure that if they agree to our terms and conditions and we agree that we could be a possible fit, and then they need to go and get the police clearance, which is very important, like I said earlier. And then once they have all their paperwork in place, and then we can move forward from there.
Oh, wow. Um, so, I mean, some of the, success stories, I was just reading, on your website, and
Okay.
I read some of your some of the
The
students
kids.
are at university, or have they passed, have they
Okay.
like what's the status?
So, fortunately, financially, especially now, our kids have graduated. So, those ones have graduated and they are now living independently. Some of them are married, um, and they in good, stable jobs. And so now, at the moment, like I said, we have the two oldest ones that's in matric and then grade 11. But the ones who've been on university, so they've graduated, they've moved on. But time and again now, you'll find them come in and see how they can assist the other kids, or if there's anything we need done, or maybe even sometimes a nanny, they will come and volunteer. Because I mean, who better, because they know the center, because they come from the center. And I think that's important. So we try and do things family orientated style, and I think that's what keeps them coming back. And I think that's important for everybody, just to know that even though I've left this place, there is still a place that I belong, that I can go to for comfort, or if I need advice or anything, that they can come. Our doors are always open to them.
Just how proud are you when you see someone that came from such adversity, and now they're
Mm.
sitting with a degree and knowing that, the center helped them actually achieve that? Like, how much pride does everyone feel when that happens to a child?
I think you can't explain, because we had one of our girls who graduated and then got an amazing job, and she traveled. And then she got married and she phoned us up, and then she was like, I need you guys to help with the wedding. And then she phoned again afterwards, like a couple of months later, she's going to have a baby. And I think everybody just cried, because, like, genuinely, she is success in itself. And that is what we want for all our children. And that's the vision that we have for all our children, that they will then leave our center better people, and they will leave there with the knowledge and the skills, knowing that they can make better choices for themselves. But I must say, as much as there isn't a 100% success rate, we still encourage the children to make contact, and if they still need our help, and then we can assist them in any way that we can, possibly. So I don't ever want them to feel like that's a center. I want them to feel like that is a home, that was my home, even if it was for a short space of time, and even if they need us, they can still call on us, and we will try and assist them in any way that we can.
To end the show, Naeema,
So
but
it's
you've
fine.
been such great company, and please do come back. We'd love to hear more about this amazing thing
I
company.
definitely will. And thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right, and thank you to you as well, the viewer, for watching us and keeping us company as we had this interesting conversation. The work of children is, something that's really great investment. So we are really thankful for organizations like the Vision Child and Youth Care Center. So from me, Sisanda Henda, and from Naeema, it's goodbye on Open Studio Cape Town TV.